Alrighty, here we are. We're back at Tom's house to check out on what he got done since the last time. The last time we were here, he was starting to put the shiplap up, but it kind of looks like he got that done. How about that? It's a lot of work. That's a lot of boards, one right after another like that. But there they all are. You know, it looks like he's got the side pieces. Yep, little smaller side pieces. Now, Tom has mentioned before that he was buying things in lengths of 8 feet. And therefore, he could get all the material he needed out of each board to do the front and the sides. So he's got both of those done. There you go. And there's the master woodcrafter himself. So Tom, it looks great. I see you've got a hole here cut out for your outlet, right? So the TV cord can go in there. Planning on doing anything with that hole?
Well, it depends. When I put the television up, it should cover the hole.
Okay.
If it covers it completely and it doesn't show, I'll leave it as it is.
Leave it as is. Okay.
Yeah. If not, there are like covers you can put on. And
Sure.
put plastic cover on it. Something
Sure.
like
Okay. All right.
But I still need to be able to get my hand in and out of there. That's the whole key to the thing.
I see you've got a little narrow board up at the top there. And then, now you, in talking to you earlier, you said you brought that board to get it rip cut somewhere else because you don't have a table saw, or
No, I do have a table saw.
Oh, you do have a
I
table
ripped it myself.
Oh, you did?
It's kind of like a preference. I've used this saw for many, many years, so I feel very comfortable with it. Some people might not feel so comfortable. It's probably one of the most dangerous saws you can have from the point of view that you can,
Okay.
if you don't operate it correctly and safely, you could
Lose some
injure
fingers?
any part of your body
All right.
as opposed to a chop saw.
So what we're going to do at this point is redirect people who want to learn how to rip boards. There's probably other YouTube videos out there that'll show you how to use the saws. You even
Safely use the saw.
Yeah, safely use the saw, and you could probably even go to manufacturers' websites to get that same information. At any rate, you have one. You used it. Let me count your fingers. You have all your fingers? All right, so I guess you did okay.
My other body parts.
And your other body parts are all there too. All right, so anyway, there you go. You have all your boards up. Now, I'm looking kind of closely here, and I'm not seeing any nails. So can you talk to me a little bit about how you get that covered up? I know they're not glued up there, right? I saw you nailing them. We have that in the previous video.
They're all nailed up, usually about 3 nails, sometimes 4 going up the board, sometimes 5. It just depends on how flat the boards are. If you have to pull them in,
Okay.
you have to just nails in the middle. Once they're all done, everything's done, it's ready to be painted. It was primed to start with, so you saw it was white before. And this time I used a little different product than I usually do. I usually buy painter's putty, which is a putty you can roll and just wipe it across and smooth it out, and you're done.
Oh, you like with your fingers?
I do it with my fingers.
Okay.
You can do it with any way you want. You can do it with a putty knife or whatever.
Oh, okay.
It'd be a lot of waste, if you will. This time I used something that I don't even know what it's called. It's basically extremely light. It doesn't contract.
Light in color, did you mean?
Light and weight.
Light and weight. Oh,
Light
okay.
and weight. As a matter of fact, I can go down and get the can of it. What's nice about it is it doesn't expand. It doesn't contract.
Oh,
So when you put it in, all you gotta do is make sure you put it in, wipe it clean. You know.
Okay.
I used a plastic putty knife.
you did. Smooth it, flatten it out and all that, yeah?
Flatten it out, everything like that. One pass and you're done.
Okay.
Kind of nice. You might see small things in them, where you didn't get quite flat, but the paint covers it.
The paint covers it. Okay. You didn't even have to sand it? or
I
anything?
didn't sand it, I didn't do anything but fill it
Wow.
and paint it. And that's 2 coats of paint
Okay.
on top of that. So, you'll see some imperfections in the boards. I mean, you can't get all perfect board. That could be sanded if I wanted to, and we'll see
Right,
what happens
right.
afterwards. But all the nail holes, they pretty much go in completely and
Yeah.
are done.
And if I recall, you also nailed along the studs here, where you had studs
Yes,
built into your framework.
There are nail holes here, there are nail holes here,
Right.
and on the ends.
So that's a ton of nail holes, and none of them are visible. So
It's a ton of nail holes.
that
Okay.
product works.
So, yeah, we'll just try to remember in a little bit, get out
Okay.
and get
Okay.
product.
Very good. Excellent.
So now we're at the point of trimming it up, okay? And what I want to do is do the trim on this portion of the wall, the fireplace insert, exactly the same as the rest of the wall, so it's all continuous. So I'm going to take the baseboards to start with and take the baseboards and continue them around the fireplace insert by putting a board on the front.
And this is what we're
boards on the
talking about,
sides.
baseboards. Baseboards and the shoe molding, the little quarter-round shoe molding at the base, right?
Shoe molding, which is 1/2 inch by 3/4.
1/2 inch by 3/4?
That's what makes it shoe molding.
Okay.
And 1/2 inch
Ah.
is from the wall, the 3/4 is up,
Okay.
okay?
Very
That's
good.
what's called shoe molding. And I'm also going to put some trim piece on the inside of the inside corner.
Okay.
And on the outside of the outside corner.
Okay.
So between all those, it will kind of look, it will look totally finished product and won't have any large pieces that look kind of obnoxious. I mean,
All
I
right.
could have put a 1x2 here, but that kind of spoils the nice slight flat front on the fireplace, so we're not going to do that. So we're going to do it with other trim. On the top, this eventually will be crown molded. So what I'll do is mark where the crown molding will come down to, which is basically 4 inches, 4 1/4 in this case, and take my trim pieces and extend them up just to that point, and then the crown molding will be put on later and right on top of those trim pieces. So that's the next step, is to cut the trim, install it, caulk it, paint it, fill the holes, or cover the holes, and then fireplace enclosure is pretty much done.
Nice. Nice. All right.
All right. Hold for a minute. I'll grab that filler.
Okay, and bring it up. We'll put that in the film. All right, Tom, you went down. You got that stuff you're going to show us here?
Here it is. It's called, it's made by DAP. It's called Patch and Paint. I'm sure there are other brands of this similar product.
Okay.
I have no idea what's made of. It almost looks like whipped cream.
Why don't you taste it and see what's
No, not so much
Not
today.
so much today. No.
Looking for volunteers. Anyway, you can see, I mean, this was pretty much full.
Yeah,
That's what I used to do that. So
do that.
It goes a long way,
goes a long way.
right? We're going to need it today or tomorrow.
All right,
So I'll leave it up there.
cool. And that's not necessarily, as Tom said, we don't endorse any particular products. There might be some recommendations like that, because that certainly worked for him, but there could be others as well.
What I'm telling you is what I did, not what to do.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, so here we are. First board is here. What I will do is always try to make the most exposed end as perfect as possible. So if you have to do some caulking with fill or whatever, you want to do it on the ends that you don't really see.
Okay.
So that's my objective.
And I'm going to guess that I'm looking at the most exposed end. Because your family, visitors would be...
Back here, you know, if you're back here, you see this maybe.
Right.
If you're anywhere in the house, pretty much you see.
You're going to be looking there. So that's going to be the one you favor.
That's going to be the one I start.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
so first step is to check your squareness. Okay, because you have to cut this at a certain angle. When I put this on, it is 100% square. Okay, so it's a 90-degree angle.
Okay.
Very important. Now on this side, it's close, but not exact. Okay, so there's a 90-degree angle, and you get a little bit of play in here. You can see it from here. So,
Let me see if I can zoom in.
whatever the reason is, I don't know, but you know, it's pretty close, but not exact. but I will cut that the same as I will the other one at 90 degrees. You know, if we were off by
All
quite a
right.
bit, I would probably try to cut the two angles, splitting the difference. Like, for instance, if it was a
Oh, oh,
94-degree
okay.
angle, as
Okay.
it turns out, and you could actually measure how many degrees it is, then you would divide in two and do 247s.
Exactly, because what you're trying to calculate now is how well the 45-degree angles will butt up against each other and how
Exactly.
tight they'll be.
Exactly.
So, as you just said, the one on the other side, which is the visible side, you're fortunate, I guess, in some ways that that one came out perfect 90. But since this one did not, you might have wanted to do a little fudgy-coo on your cutting to try to get them to match better, but because of, you're not going to do that. You're going to go 45 all around,
It's close enough.
close enough. And
I
you'll-
wouldn't want to put like a, you know, quarter of an inch of caulk in there, because
Right.
that would show like a quarter of an inch of caulk.
Right,
So
right.
I'd rather be as precise as possible, knowing that you have to, you know, paint something sealed or caulk it sealed and caulk
Right.
it and paint it.
I mean, wood houses are never perfect, so that's where the miracle of caulking comes in to fill in those tiny gaps.
Wood, and not only that, but once you start with the wood, it could be perfect, but over time it won't be.
Right,
I mean, it moves,
right.
so, you know.
And in case any of the viewers don't understand that, houses are gigantic structures made out of wood that are influenced by changing temperatures. So here in the Northeast, you know, or the Mid-Atlantic, you know, we get all four seasons, which so the temperatures vary from 100 degrees in the summer down to 10 degrees in the wintertime, and houses can expand and stretch and do all kinds of weird things that make things that Tom's talking about difficult because they don't stay perfectly fit the whole time. And that's where if you put a little flexible caulk in there, it fills the gap. It looks brilliant to the eye, and nobody can tell the difference. But you want to use as little of it as possible.
All right, let's march out to the garage and cut this board. They start
All right.
with this board.
We'll see you out there. All right, we're back out in the garage, and I'm gonna catch Tom here, I think, on something. So Tom, when we were just in there, you didn't measure anything with regard to what length of board to cut, and here we are in front of the saw. So what goes?
What goes? Well, I know that the board is going to be a certain length. What I don't want to have to do is make two cuts to get that length without being absolutely sure. So what I will do is take on this cut on this end, which is the cut that is on the best side, so to speak. So you want to have it as good as perfect. Once that's cut, I can take this board, put it in place, and then mark the other end to be sure that I got it
Oh,
right on the other end also.
so I see. So you're gonna kind of build this in steps. You're gonna start with one, get that one done, then you're gonna use it to measure the next one, instead of trying to do all that ahead of time. And that way you'll get your more perfect fit because it'll be exactly.
And the bottom line is, no matter what I do, I'd rather be long than short.
Yes.
Okay, if it's short, I either have to caulk or go get another piece of board and paint it. So we'll go for the being too long and then cutting it down if necessary.
Okay. So there's a little bit of wisdom there for the viewers to make note of, where it looked like to me it would have made sense to try to measure all these pieces ahead of time and then cut them all at once and then bring them in and try to assemble them. Tom's experience tells him, no, you do one, you lay it in place, and then once it's there, you have the means by which to measure the next one, so that you actually build it out piece by piece, and then you get a much more exact and much tighter fit. Excellent.
Okay, so this is a compound miter saw, which means that you can cut this way, cut that way, or cut that way. So you can actually turn the blade, because we need to create an outside edge right here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the saw to 0, which it means it's basically a 90 degrees cut.
Yes.
Okay, the fence versus the cut is 90 degrees.
Right. Right.
And I'm going to set the bevel down to 45 degrees. Nope. First thing I'm going to do is move my fence up. So we'll go to 45 degrees.
Now, I'm just the guy with the camera, of course, but as I look at this, and as I imagine that piece going in there, I'm wondering why you didn't do this 45 degrees that way.
Well, two reasons. The first is the saw only goes one way.
Oh,
Okay, so that's
well, that's a good reason.
a good reason. The second is that it's cutting at that angle, which is what you want, because we want an open angle as opposed to a closed angle. So we're doing an outside. So both pieces are longer on the
Well,
front,
this,
shorter on
won't
the
this
back.
edge go up against the wall?
No, I'm cutting the piece across
Oh, okay.
the big piece across.
Oh, you're cutting the big piece. Oh, you're cutting the big piece.
Big piece first.
Oh,
Okay, because that's the piece that shows the most. Then I'll work from there.
I misunderstood. I thought you were cutting the little inset piece first.
No.
All right.
Not yet.
Okay.
All right, so there it is. You can see where the blade will go.
Yes.
Okay, that'll make the cut that we're looking at, that we're looking for.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
All righty. I'm going to come around here.
and protect yourselves at all times. So it's
Yes.
like a prize fight. Oop, plug it in first. I just plug it in, but put it here. Yep. It's important to make sure the board is very flat,
Very flat up
very
against
flat, tight against the fence. Okay, as you can see, when I turn this up on its edge, and this is at the end of the,
Yes.
I could probably use a sharper blade, but in any case, so that's at the end, so that is the
Yeah.
correct,
That is exactly what you want.
correct fit that you want. Okay?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll take this back in and mark it on the wall rather than trying to,
Ah. I catch on now. So there, that's it, folks. He put his edge on first. Let's go find out how he works this. I'm getting it now. It should be obvious to the viewers that the cameraman is learning here. Trying to ask good questions, but and this is where experience comes in, because I wouldn't have been smart enough to do this. Now maybe after my first or second one I'd have figured it out, but it's good to know this stuff ahead of time.
now, what you want to do is you want to line up. See, it's a little bit over. Be careful of that. Line up the inside edge, okay, of this board with the inside edge of this board.
Right.
All right, now that's actually maybe a slight hair long, which I can live with. A hair short, I can't really live with.
Oh, okay, okay. You're saying that if anything, that board is to the left, moving in this
Correct.
direction.
The bottom line is it's a whole lot easier to caulk it than it is to cut another board. So I
Right.
can always cut it shorter. You know, to measure twice, cut once.
Gotcha.
This is
Okay.
cut long, if anything.
All right.
Right. Yep. The other thing too is you want the top to be right as opposed to the bottom. So if there's a choice between top and bottom, do the top, because the bottom won't show whatever the difference is. It will be covered up by the other piece of wood. The top will always have like this.
Oh, yes.
in it, okay?
Yes, I
It's
see what
just
you mean.
these little things, but sometimes they make a difference.
Sure.
Right?
Now, are you gonna-
work this board?
Oh, all right. You just let that lay there. I was wondering if you were going to nail it temporarily or anything.
No. Just let it lay. Okay, make sure there's one more. All right, so I'm gonna mark it, way I mark it is I mark it on top. All right, so that's my cut. I wanna pretty much slightly take the line, and move it flush, mark it on the back,
Oh, okay.
okay? So the inside edge is here. Right, the outside edge will be out here.
Correct.
Okay, so it makes it a little more difficult to cut because you're coming kind of across the board. And when we go out to see the saw, I have to turn this board around, so I'll be cutting like this,
Yes.
okay? So you got to kind of make sure you know which mark you're cutting and where that mark is. Is it in the outside of the board or is it on the inside of the board?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Let's
Right.
go
Right.
see if we can take a shot at doing this.
All right. Let's see out there. All right. So here we are in the garage. Can you pull that up again so I can see those lines? Oh, you're going to flip it around or leave it like that?
Well, it has to be like this because we have to.
Oh, okay.
open.
Okay.
On a single bevel saw like this, you have no choices on how you cut.
Yeah.
You have to cut the way the saw cuts.
Right.
All right. So in this case, I have no choice but to do it
Right.
this way. Now, a couple of things over the years I've figured out. You bring the saw down like that. You can see how much is left.
Yes.
So you get some idea of where the saw is,
Ah.
where the cut is. Okay, so it's going to be just slightly to the side of that. Okay.
Okay. So you would not then you pencil the line,
Right.
which I can,
Now, that's the
See
thing. If I were to do that, it would actually come short.
correct.
Okay, because the blade into
Right.
this is different. So I'm going to go like that. That's probably a little too much open. I mean, in other words, it's probably going to be too long. But I'd rather be too long than be too short.
So that pencil line is not exactly on this edge.
Correct.
It's just to the side of it.
It's about the distance between the blade and the
All right. Okay.
Okay.
So-
Again, you want error on the correct side.
Yeah, because you could try to come back and nibble a little bit more off
Exactly.
if you're long, but you can't
Right.
add material.
And that's easy enough to do because you can always put the board against the face of the saw blade and then
Yes.
just move it a little bit.
Like we've seen you do before. And that even works on an angle cut like this.
That'll work on anything.
Okay.
All right? Ready? Okay, as you see, it's definitely long. It's long by about an eighth of an inch.
Okay.
Maybe not quite.
Oh yeah, look at that.
All right.
Look at how much that,
You
that,
see, so-
wow.
So cutting, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell with a plate exactly where you want to cut it.
Right,
You
right.
see, it's not cut exactly where it.
Are you going to try to nibble a little bit more off?
I'm just taking a shot at it. Yep.
Okay, because that's not quite, right, all right.
So all I'm going to do is look at where it is on here.
Yes.
I know that it's got to go back that much, so I'll take it back then.
Is it safe for me to say that when you're done cutting, you should be able to see that entire pencil line right up to the edge of the cut?
Correct.
Okay,
That'll be just slightly long, but that's okay.
okay.
Better long than short. Well, that's the wrong way. I'll cut more since it's got so much.
All right, that looks pretty good.
It's pretty good, but I think it's probably still a little long, but that's all right. It's really long and short.
Now, from where my camera is looking, I'm going to try to zoom in on that edge. It kind of looks like you got, well, actually, what, did it break a little material off, did it?
Yes, it will.
Oh, okay, okay.
And unfortunately, because it, like I said,
Oh, yeah.
single bevel, you can't
Right.
cut the perfect way. I mean, this case, it will break this side a little bit and keep this side back. And the other, and if, I don't know if you
Yes.
saw, it was at the top.
Yes, yes.
And it's all gonna be caulked and painted anyway. so
Right, right.
You need to,
But you're trying to minimize that on the side of the board that the company, and you will see all day long.
yes.
Gotcha, okay.
All right. One thing I should have done. All right,
Oh.
see how we did.
All right. All right, now. Yeah, I'll bet he's going to lay that down, go back to the left side and position it next to that edge the way he started. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Then after he gets that set, he's going to come down and take a look at this side and see where it wound up. Wow.
Pretty good.
Look at that. I would say that that's darn good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, it's not perfect.
You don't have to take any more material off, it doesn't look like.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I
that's
think it's
beautiful.
good right the way it is.
Wow.
All right. Now, a couple ways of doing this is one, before I attach that, I really want to have the side pieces cut so that I can make sure that I've got the angle just exactly where I want.
Okay.
The unfortunate part of that is if we do that, it's going to take us a long time to do the cut because it has to be cut and then coped and whatever. So I'd rather not do that at this point in time.
Oh, that's right, because the side that's going to butt up to this board will be a 45, but the other side that's going to go up against the other molding's got to be coping cut to fit around.
Exactly.
And you're not prepared or wanting to do all that today.
What I don't like is now. Probably want to cut that for a minute.
So when we last stopped the film from rolling, Tom had made kind of an unhappy discovery regarding the floor molding that he had bought and painted, and we already saw the 45-degree cuts he made on both ends, and he was preparing to install. His idea, of course, is to install molding that will pair up, go around the new fireplace, and match what's already on the walls. And I'm going to let Tom take it from here and explain what it is that he has found and what his thoughts are to dealing with it. Now, see, nothing in life ever always goes perfect. And as perfect as Tom was making this project look, it now looks like something has wandered in front of him that he didn't anticipate and he's going to have to react to. Tom?
Okay. So what happened was I brought this board in, it's going to put it in position, make sure it's all set, nail it in. And one of the things I did when I planned this entire project was to make sure that the bottom board, the baseboard, covers the first joint of the shiplap. I didn't want to have this like the situation I currently have, which is, a line right above a line, so to speak. A couple of reasons. One is that if they're both not perfectly level, then it'll kind of look like it tails off on one end or the other. So, and the second thing is that I wanted it to match exactly the baseboard and shoe molding that was already there because it's just an extension of it going around the fireplace.
All right, that molding right here would just come right around and go up that way.
Right, so it should be seamless, so to speak. So what I did was I went to
In fact, Tom, if I can recall correctly, when you sized the first board that you put on the bottom, didn't you take into account the height of the current baseboard?
Yes, the height of the current baseboard is 5 5/8 inches. So what I did was I went to the same source that the builder supposedly uses and bought the same supposedly baseboard. Well, this baseboard is about, I'd say, half an inch or so shorter than the other baseboard that's already on there. Now, I don't know why. I have my suspicions. I have my suspicions that they are the same baseboard, but the baseboard was raised up to accommodate for other height flooring. This is a very thin LVP. It could have been hardwood, which would be like 3/4 of an inch versus 5/16 of an inch. So what they do is they always put the trim work in first before the flooring. And so what they do is they just set it to the height that will accommodate all the different types of floors. In this case, it looks like it's accommodating a hardwood floor.
So when they, Tom is saying is when they built this home, that piece of molding, not the little rounded shoe molding, but the piece of molding itself, probably had a healthy gap underneath it and what do they call that, the stuff that's underneath the flooring?
Subfloor.
Subfloor, exactly. Thank you. So there would have been a healthy gap between the bottom of the molding and the subfloor, which would have allowed them to put any thickness of flooring in that they were offering to prospective buyers, knowing that they would then later come along and put a piece of shoe molding on there to cover up any gap that was left. So the suspicion is that that molding does not go all the way to the floor, even though it looks like it might. And in fact, it hovers above the floor by some dimension. So what I'm seeing Tom do right now, he's gone and gotten some shims. And these shims that you're using, these can be purchased, right? Or from a shim pack or something like that?
Yeah, I bought a small package. I mean, you can buy all size shims. Just a small package of shims. They're reusable for the most
Okay,
part. So
right.
you can do a whole lot with them, but you typically take the shims. If you look at the shims, they're tapered pieces of wood,
Okay.
and what you do is just put them so that they're the same.
Oh, yeah,
And
right.
then you can just slide it along to make it higher.
Right. I gotcha. Yeah.
Same shims are used, for instance, when you're putting down flooring to keep the
Right.
edges off the walls.
So you're thinking to yourself right now that you're probably going to install this molding the same way the builders did on the wall, which is to raise it up to the same height
Correct.
that those are at.
Quite a raise.
Wow.
It's a significant difference.
We might be talking about something down here that's close to 3/8 or a half-inch difference. So he's shimming it now to get it back to the position he expected to always have it anyway. After he was done with the project, he just thought it was going to be taller because he was buying the same molding from the same place that the builders bought their molding from. And I think right now what you're doing, Tom, is you're trying to use these shims to finesse it into its final position so you can actually see what kind of gap you're dealing with?
Well, actually, I marked, what I did was I measured, leveled across from this point, which is existing baseboard,
Yes.
over to there, marked my board, so that this is supposed to be at that mark.
Gotcha.
Okay, and what I'll do is I'll get that arranged correctly. I'll shim the other side to some degree, not exactly the same. Tack this board in on this end, and then work my way down, go and do the same thing here, leveling across on the other end, and tack it on that,
And see what you got.
and see what I got.
Okay, very good.
You know, a little bit of this will depend on how I'm gonna end up with doing these boards, which, like I said, will take a little bit of extra time. I also want to just take a utility knife and cut that back just a little bit on that board. And once I do that, I get one side situated, then I can go down and make sure the other side's situated. I got a little careful here because I don't want to tack it to the degree that I can't take it off if it was too long at the other end or something like that. So
Okay.
that's the reason I do the good side first, because I can make sure that's exactly as I want it, and then the other side, which isn't necessarily as good, will be able to be taken care of after the stitch. So
All right.
that's where I'm at.
All right.
All right, we're gonna move on with some shims, get down the other end, see if we can get them a little bit level. Yeah, you can see once this board is up to the height that I wanted it, it now covers the line from the,
Yes.
from the
From the
shiplap.
shiplap, yeah. So he's got that in kind of shimmed up to exactly, just about exactly where he wanted it. Now he's gone to get some more shims, I think, from the basement. This one's got to come up quite a bit more. But you can see the kind of gap that we're going to be dealing with here. Once he mounts that where it's supposed to be. And the question then is, will the shoe molding, which is 3/4 of an inch high, be able to cover that? And even if it can, will it find its way up to the far enough up that board to be able to be nailed in place? We shall see. Tom is back. Just using ad hoc pieces of stuff he has around to so he doesn't have to use so many shims.
Using shims is kind of like building a puzzle. You have to kind of take it one step at a time and kind of work it until you get it exactly where you want it.
This is probably a good time to introduce the idea of discipline and patience. You need to be patient and disciplined and not hurry. Actually, at any point in the project, even when they're going swimmingly, but especially when you run into obstacles like this, because you can really create some problems downstream for yourself if you're hurrying and doing things haphazardly. And, you know, not everybody has the temperament to do that. And if you don't, then call a really good professional to get the job done well. So you see what he's doing now. He's just experimenting with different shims. He's got the other side done. He already did that one over there. We looked at that. I think he's got that one pretty much nailed. So now he's fussing around with the right-hand side, increment by increment, and then testing it with his level to see if it's, well, level. And using his big level. And as he mentioned to us before, if you overlap these wedge-shaped shims, all you have to do is slide them either in or out from relative to each other to increase the thickness or decrease it, which is what he's doing. So it's probably close to where he wants it. It's covering the shiplap line, which was always the intent. And now he's going to come over here and try to create a level line from the actual baseboard still attached to the wall to where he's got the other one shimmed. And he's using a straight edge to ride on the top surfaces of both pieces of molding, and then he's going to put his level on it to see if they're at the same height, because if they are, it should be level, or pretty close to. One of the technical terms for what Tom is doing here is called Fudgy cool.
Actually, what I'm trying to do is play off two different sides. I want it to be level over here, I want it to be level over there, and I want it to be level in the middle. So
Indeed.
it's kind of a case of this end was a little bit high when compared to the existing molding. So I'm going to go back to the other one and see if it might also be a little bit high, hopefully.
Now, as you can see, Tom has the patience of an oyster. And he doesn't mind doing this kind of thing. It would probably drive me crazy.
All right, so that ring is a little bit high.
See, one of the things they teach in engineering school is that 3 points in space determine a plane. Well, Tom's dealing with 4 points in space right now, which makes it quite a bit more difficult to put all of them on the same plane. Thankfully, that long board that he's trying to shim was already pre-painted, and we saw earlier where he cut his 45s on both ends. So if he can get this thing shimmed up there where he wants it, I suppose he'll be able to tack it or nail it in place, and then he'll be figuring out what to do then with the gap underneath relative to a piece of shoe molding. We'll come back when he's done. So, Tom has, go back to use my technical term, fudgy-cooed his way with his shims to a point where he is satisfied that the levels are all in sync with regard to his end-end position over there and the end-end position over there and the big level sitting in the middle. So he is now ready to tack it in place so that it ain't going nowhere after that. Checks his compressor to make sure he's got air pressure. For his nail gun.
One last check. Level.
And
Nice.
and at this point, you're not shooting for the studs anymore. You're just trying to get the nails in.
Just tacking it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
studs on the end, so I know I'm hitting. But
Right.
in here, I can look in here.
Oh,
There's a
right.
stud there.
Okay.
I'm just going to do the top first and then I'll go down to the bottom.
Compressor is on.